What do you define yourself as? You mentioned filmmaker, writer. Talk to me a little bit about how you identify as in your professional life.
I mean, I'm a writer both of like screenplays and also of, essays and articles and hopefully a book eventually or books. And and then I'm a director and a producer as well. So I use filmmaker in a broad sense.
Mhm.
And my work like involves television now, film, and a lot of digital content as well, music videos, commercials, scripted, unscripted. So it really is quite a gamut of work. And honestly, those projects vary based on how they were originated, how they came together, what I was commissioned to do, what I pitched for.
Mhm.
So,
Is it under
yeah.
an umbrella like a certain company, or is it Honcho, or is it something else?
So I have a production company called Honto 88.
88.
And
Mhm.
so I started that really as I found myself producing a lot more than I expected to right out of grad school at NYU, where I got my MFA in film at Tisch and my MBA at Stern. And I can see why I was producing so much. Um, and I was also an executive, and I'd been at MTV and Condé Nast and then Nylon. And then while I was still producing, I really was like, I have stuff I want to write about. There's stuff I want to direct, but I'm not getting those opportunities as much. And, I have to reframe things for myself. And that's really where Honto came about.
Mm.
And so Honto 88 was really a vehicle for my directing, but where my work would also live within one production company instead of constantly being commissioned from different sources
Mm.
or being commissioned to direct and then going to another company. So that's really why I started it. And then more recently started Prism Entertainment with Megha Kadakia and Priya Giri Desai, who are two filmmakers whose work I have loved and respected for so long. And during the pandemic, the three of us just got on a Zoom call to chat, and we were all complaining about, you know, projects that we were brought on, that had South Asian representation. And we realized that we were also being just tokenized and being brought on to fix problems that were poorly developed because
Mm.
people involved may not have necessarily had that cultural background either. And, we were just band-aids to a wound. And we were finding this across our various projects. And then really, I think through that complaining, we had to figure out a solution. And our solution was, why don't the three of us come together to start a company and collect IP, start to do this in a different way, have a different intention. And I think it's almost like an anti-Hollywood move where we did not want to make a big announcement. We were not chasing a trade paper to suddenly say, here we are. We wanted to be very intentional. Also, the three of us hadn't worked together before. And so we really wanted to take our time, build a slow slate, tap into our networks or communities um, in a way that, and all three of us have to be on the same page
Mhm.
around something too. And
Sure.
we have various backgrounds and perspectives. And so I think we've been able to build a really wonderful slate of projects across the board, and we're really excited. And so in that, with Prism, I mean, that tends to be more culturally specific, but operating at a different scale.
Sure. Why the name Honcho 88?
Oh, so Honto 88,
Honto, sorry, Honto 88. Yeah.
although, I guess everyone who works there should be called Honcho 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
So actually, funny enough, I think a lot of companies, what I found, their names tend to be from the places or streets where they were birthed.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so when I was thinking about what company name could I have, so much of my creative work was really coming from my Chinatown apartment
Mm.
in downtown New York. And a friend of mine was like, "Wait, isn't your condo building called Honto 88?" And I thought, "Yeah, but what does that mean?" And I looked up Honto, and I believe in Chinese, Honto refers to living life to the fullest, and but then in Japanese, Honto means really. And I thought that that was just so funny that you have this very practical word that I tend to actually say a lot. And then you have this other kind of very like earnest,
Yeah.
thing. And then 88 is the symbol of infinite good luck in a lot of Asian culture. And so I thought, you know what, being in Chinatown, being in this place also means so much to me. It's where a lot of my creativity has also been, birthed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why Honto 88. And then Prism Entertainment, Prism comes from our names. The Pri is from Priya, the S
Ah.
is from Shruti, and the M is from Mega.
Oh, that's good. Wow. That's a really my brother used to work for a naming company up in the Bay Area and they named, the Power Book and all these other, Lexus and just really, really large brands. And, you always picture people just sitting in a room with like, a whiteboard or something like that or a blackboard or something. And he's like, oh, there's so much that goes into it. And I'm always fascinated by names and how people come up with them. That's really cool, the Prism piece. Whose approval do you seek? Is there anyone in your
Mm.
mind that you're trying to impress, either consciously or subconsciously? And impress, that's kind of a negative connotation. I don't mean like show off, but are you speaking to a certain person or persons during your work?
To be honest, it also depends on who the work is for.
Mhm.
And I mean, if I'm making it for a client, then that is the approval. But I also know that the client has come to me more than someone else for a certain perspective. So I should feel ideally proud of the work as well. Um, and then I love getting feedback. I think you spend a lot of money going to an expensive film school to know how to handle critique and be beaten down and, with it. And so I think that's what an expensive education should be able to at least get you. And I think I don't necessarily look at it as like approval. I think of it as, do you feel good? I feel good. We feel good. It's more like even a collaboration in that process. And it may not always get there, especially because direction may be changing or evolving, of the situation of production may have been challenged. And then, I mean, not everything I'm going to make, it's going to be something I'm the most proud of. And in some cases, I will have the space and the capacity to be trusted to make the thing that feels like I've been able to have the creative flex I've been wanting to have and move towards. And that's always the best feeling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What is the highest compliment you can receive on your work?
On my work, I mean, I would say, when I was at Condé Nast, the first thing I produced when I got there was 73 Questions, which is the video series that never ends. I can't even watch those, but I will say it is nice to know that it hasn't ended, but I hope it does at some point. But
You
it,
mean each one is too long, or the fact that the series has been going on this long?
it's the series has been going on for so long, but
73 years.
I think that 73 years. But one of the greatest compliments I will say, if it's on the doc side, at least, whether I've interviewed folks who were incarcerated and given life in prison for nonviolent crimes, and making a piece of content or, film with them that goes viral, and being told that they felt really seen and heard through that, and that their story was, respectfully told. And my approach as a filmmaker, maybe even, past documentaries, is from the perspective of a listener, and to
Mhm.
show up and to really make sure that whoever I'm getting to spend time with in that piece feels like that they were able to really, feel that their story was told and was truthfully told, especially at a time where the untruths travel much faster. So I think that is important. I mean, I'll never forget, when I was at MTV, and, MTV Desi in particular, and it was the third iteration of it. And
Mhm.
the gang rape had happened in India, and I was filming a candlelight vigil in Union Square. I was like, it's really important for us to cover this. And it was so damn cold. It was, that day. And our hands were just shaking on our cameras. And I ran into an old friend of mine, filmmaker called Sandy, who's, Caucasian American. And she said, Shruti, what are you doing? And I said, oh, we're just interviewing young people about their feelings about, this gang rape. And she said, oh, but Shruti, why don't you interview me? And I joked with her. I said, Sandy, we're not young people anymore. And she said, but I have a story to tell. And I was like, and she started to tell me her story. And I said, wait, can you come to the studio in a couple of days at MTV? I need to tell your story properly.
Hmm.
And she came to the studio and we made a, she talked about how she had been raped in an ashram
Oh my
with
gosh.
on her last trip to India, and how the news in India had gotten it wrong. And that's what she had been telling me that cold night in Union Square. And I said, I want to get your story right, because there was a lot of healing that needed to happen too. And so, filmed with her for a few hours in the studio. She just looking at the camera, talking, small crew. And when it came to cutting this video, it's not like I could put out like an hour and a half long interview, but I cut it down to 10 minutes, made it two parts with Sandy's permission, made her watch it, approve it, and we put it out. And she felt really seen. And that was really important to me. The crazy thing with that particular video, and I think about this often, is we put out this video and I emailed all my friends saying, I think this is one of the most powerful things I've been able to have the, you know, opportunity to tell my friend's story. And I really want you to all watch it. And it's pretty raw and it's, straightforward and painful. And a friend of mine messaged me saying, Hey, Shruti, did you see the comment on the video? And the first comment under the video was from a guy in India saying, You're responsible for your own safety. This is India, bitch.
Oh man.
And
Oh,
and,
dude, come on.
and a friend said, Shruti, you have to remove that comment. And I remember just staring at it. And of course, I had admin privileges. And I was just like staring at the screen. And I was like, the thing is, you could tell who the person was because it was attached to Facebook. So I looked up this guy who worked for Microsoft. So you have like an educated, multinational corporate job person, and that is his response to this stranger's raw,
Drama.
intimate story.
Right.
And I remember thinking, I can't remove the comment, because if I remove the comment, I'm erasing a problem.
I could not
And
agree more.
he is the problem. He represents the problem. And then soon enough, someone commented against him, another person commented, another, and it was just the floodgates came for him. The floodgates opened and people really went
Sure.
for him. And next thing you know, people were emailing Microsoft HR saying, these are the types of people you hire. They said that they were looking into the matter. This guy then removed his comment and apologized. But I just remember that was just such an additional part of this story
Right.
where this person felt heard. It felt horrible to know that this was the first comment, but he represented, you know,
That's why you made the
the
piece.
issue.
That's why
That
it's
that's why.
important. It's not
That's
like the
why.
world changed. This happened to her and the world changed. It's telling an old story. No, this is an ongoing, living, breathing problem.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, you know, I like to make work that is not, lives beyond the work and sparks a conversation too, that we can, you know, make some change.
Wow. That's really powerful, Shruti. Thank you for sharing that. And wow, that gives me the chills even to think about what happened and the reaction to it. If you had to do karaoke, gun to your head, forced to sing, or maybe you like to sing, which song would it be? And is it the same as like you walk into a room and they should play this song, or talk to me a little bit about those kind of things?
I mean, I am a co-founder of the Resistance Revival Chorus, and I therefore can sing, and I will consider myself a backline alto, unlike some of the real professional singers in the room. But at karaoke, I mean, I enjoy doing karaoke that everybody also gets really riled up to sing with.
I agree.
And the song that I found consistently works is, and this is my karaoke song, is Don't Look Back in Anger by Oasis.
I love that song so much. I love that song so much. That and Wonderwall, but Don't Look Back in Anger and maybe Live Forever are my favorite Oasis songs. And I love that song so much, right? It just gets
Yeah,
everybody, like it's all the wallflowers on the floor.
yeah, yeah. I mean, but there's something about I mean, I remember going to some, music festival in the South when I worked at Nylon, and we just walked into this bar where like no one even looked at us. We sat at the bar, some like person just singing karaoke in a corner, and I was like, okay, I'll just put this song in and let's see. And next thing you know, like 100 people are strangers are singing along with me and have stopped their conversation, and that's when I knew this was going to be my song. So,
That tells you a lot. Mine is Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice. I did
oh,
it
that
for my birthday.
that always works
I can
because that
get
that has dance breaks.
yeah, dance breaks. I can rap. I can't really sing that well. Already Naveen's probably favorite line is "Don't sing, Daddy." It's like, okay, wow, this is already like I'm being dissed by my child, but I can be pretty awful. There are a few songs I can really kind of wail, but rapping I can do, and even some freestyling. But that's cool. I love the Oasis tip. That's a great one. If you didn't do your current job, which profession would you like to attempt, and which profession would you not like to attempt? Although you have
Mm.
not only attempted, but also you've been successful. You've held several different jobs, right?
Oh my gosh, the thing is when you have a visa to be in this country, and it's just after 9/11, it's not like you're really getting the jobs you want. So you take whatever job you can, and you have your day job, you have your other job, you have your like, you try so many different things. And I think when I was in college, I mean, I moved to the States really thinking I was going to work in finance. And so for me, it became this process of elimination, really. But at this point, if I was going to have, moonlight in a new career, maybe I, I want to torture myself, but I think a civil rights lawyer. I mean, I remember, feeling a sense of hopelessness in our industry at one point. I mean, this was some years ago, and I actually ordered law school books. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just do a pivot. But then, right at that moment, one of my shows was moving forward, only to eventually not move forward again. But suddenly, like so many other things were happening that I was like,
Right.
okay, I put the law school books away. But I
You didn't
think
try
I
to
would
return them. You didn't try to get like the Daisy discount, like return them.
No, I was like, these Kaplan books are going to sit in my shelf for a while. But I think that would be really interesting for me. I mean, I would, or, honestly, I would love to be a furniture designer. I'd love to build some tables, use my hands to do something.
Wow, very
Um,
cool. Well, in that part of the world too, like Scandinavia, right? They have some of the best
yeah,
furniture, so that
yeah.
seems to resonate.
And then what I would be bad at, I would be a terrible bartender.
Interesting. Because you
Yeah.
don't drink, or because you don't cook, or like,
No, no, I definitely drink, but I think I would just probably give out too many free drinks.
yeah, it's probably me.
And
Yeah, that's true.
I was a barista in college, and I definitely gave out a lot of free mochas. I made a very good mocha my freshman year, and at one point I worked as at a sushi restaurant on campus because I wanted to eat sushi a lot. So I thought, let me just work at the restaurant, and I definitely gave free shit to people all the time. But I think free drinks at a bar become very dangerous.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Wide variety of reasons, especially if we take some of them down ourselves if we're bartending. So
Yeah.
that would be a recipe for disaster. Plus the karaoke. I mean, so then if free drinks at a karaoke bar would get everybody to sing. So I don't know. Maybe
Oh yeah.
maybe the KJ would
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.